Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today I'm bringing you a camera from the 1950s, my sort of favourite decade I think. Most of my cameras seem to come from the 50s. And this is a Japanese rangefinder, often called the Japanese Leica. And this is a Pax M3. I did an earlier video about the Pax M2, and I do have a Pax M4, so there will be a video on that one coming soon as well. But as you can see, quite a small camera. Open it up, get it out of its case. We also have into this one, hiding in here, a little lens hood. So there is the camera close up. This bit just does turn, I think. It's just out of alignment. Anyway, there's the camera. You can see compared to my hand, it is quite small. And this is a proper full-on rangefinder. This is not a zone focusing camera. This dates from 1957. And top plate. That's the back. This is rather nice. Interestingly, they look a bit like Leicas, and they have the red dot, but Leica didn't have the red dot at this time, so did Leica copy Pax, or did Pax copy Leica? And these are made by a Japanese company called Yamato. Went out of business in the early 60s. They developed the first electronic shutter, and that seemed to bankrupt them. They are prone for freezing up the focusing. You can see this one's quite stiff. So this is one of the issues with these, if you're thinking of buying one, is to make sure that the focus helicoid is still smooth. It's not that difficult a job to strip it down and re-grease them, but it's probably better if you don't have to do that. So this is the Pax M3, and this came after the Pax M2. And this is the Pax M2. So as you can see, quite different looking camera. Obviously the lever advance, that's changed, and the whole sort of top housing has changed. I think the M2 is slightly smaller. But yeah, the M2 was the second generation. I don't have an original Pax M. This one's in for repair again at the moment. It's having some issues with its shutter and its aperture, its iris. Right, so on the front we obviously have the Pax logo, although that's out of alignment. We have a rangefinder window, viewfinder window. The lenses are fixed and they have a leaf shutter. It's got the usual quite handy button for focusing. I'll show you on the top. We have the shutter speed, so we have B, a 10th, a 25th, 50th, 100 and 300, common with leaf shutters of the period. And we have an aperture from 2.8, whereas the M2 started at 3.5. So 2.8 right the way through to f16. No exposure meter. It's only 16, or we'll use a handheld meter. There you can see our focusing scale, and you can see that we do have a depth of field. So if we set the infinity at f8, everything from infinity down to 8, I think this is in feet actually, yeah it is down to 8 feet, is going to be in focus. There's a little dot up here, and you wind it on and cock the shutter, it turns red. Once you've fired the shutter, it goes to black. Sorry, that's eBay again, it's Sunday. On the top we have film rewind. I think this lifts up, if I remember correctly, maybe it doesn't. And we have a cold shoe, we have a frame counting window. This is the rewind button, you push that in to rewind the film. Threaded shutter release, film reminder of speed, whether it's empty, etc. ASA, ISO, the same thing. A more normal lever wind, quite a long travel. Obviously on the back we've just got this nice Pax. Quality is very good, very good. On the bottom, tripod bush, locked and open obviously for the film back. This bit here does nothing, it's just a space to hold the film cassette. But you can see in my hand it's a very small rangefinder, and it is a proper rangefinder. This is the adjustment catch. I've just covered this in a recent Canon video where I've been readjusting the rangefinder in that, and this is a similar system here. It doesn't look like there's another secondary adjustment underneath this shoe, but I haven't got that far with this one yet. So to take the back off, just pivot this round. It's quite common in the time period. The whole complete pack comes off. There's a pressure plate. Nice matte finish. Now we can actually see in the back of the camera, take up spool, sprocket drive, film gate, and the rewind, which I don't think does go up on this camera looking at it. Just in the one place. As far as light seals go, there's no foam to turn sticky or anything, so cameras of this era are quite a good buy. A little bit dusty. Yep. Here's the shutter sound. Very quiet and discreet. Would make a great street photography camera. Very simple. Let's say no light meter, focus, shutter speed, aperture. The lens is a 45mm. This one has a little filter on the front. It needs a clean. Got so many cameras, they all need cleaning really. 45 2.8, which is quite a nice aperture. Not sure what the quality of the lenses is like, but even the filter's original. It says on there Pax UV, so it can just stay on there. And then obviously we've got a push on lens hood. So it's quite a nice size, not particularly heavy. So let's put some film in there. So good old roll of film, HP5 again. Out of date HP5, so the cassette just slots in. Pull the leader across. Oh, this is old film, this one. Find where the take up on the take up spool is, and this has just got the sort of piece of springy metal that you've got to get this leader in behind, like so. So that sits in there like that, and bounces round. That seems to grab it okay and clicks on the second sprocket. That's pretty cool. And slide on our film back. Very easy and quick to load. Put that into the locked position. As you know, I like to see this pit going around to make sure the film is actually moving through the camera. The frame counter is resetting, it resets itself. And there we go. So as usual, it's the 3 wind-ons till we get to the first one, which is where we're at now, I think. Yep, that's the first one. So there is a Pax M3 loaded, ready to go. We can set the ASA on there as a reminder. There's a little red indicator down here, quite small to see, and this presumably just turns some fashion. Hold that, yep, the indicator moves, the outer dial moves rather than the inner dial. Big clumpy fingers. And this is HP5, so that's going to be 427. And so the outside part of this moves, this part here moves. So That's it set on 27 DIN 400 ISO. Yeah, you just use it with a cheap or expensive handheld light meter or Sunny 16, and there you go. That's the Pax M3, that's the camera of today. Put that on there. The other thing I wanted to talk about today was somebody asked me in the comments about doing a video on storage, and it was kind of like an interesting thing to talk about. If you're looking for consistency, I'd recommend buying your film new from a reputable dealer, somebody who keeps it in a fridge. This is my unexposed salad tray out of my fridge. So I've got a load of 2GC 200 in here. I've got a load of Fomapan 100. Got a load of HP5 120 film. This was some other film that was sent to me. I got a 110 film. This is my bulk loader that you've seen in various videos rather than loading cassettes. And then I have a whole variety of out-of-date films. Normally these come with cameras that I bought. This is a Konica film. This is a new Kentmere. This is the Pan 400. And I store all of these in the fridge. That's another Konica one. What we got here. This is a Colorama which I have used. And there's various films in various cassettes. It's not organised. That would be my advice, is that you keep a book with a list of what films you've got, the date that you bought them, the date that they expire, etc. These films I do plan on using in the next year quite easily, the rate I'm going through film at the moment. Once I've exposed the films, I store them in the other salad crisper in the fridge. They've been exposed, store them in the fridge until I develop them. With the colour ones, I'm trying to build them up so that I've got enough to do them in a batch. The black and whites I'm tending to develop as I use them, and you've seen some of those sort of test films featured on the channel, so those I'm tending to develop straight away. But yeah, film I store in the fridge. I don't store photographic papers in the fridge, because I'm using those sort of fairly continuously. With film, I'd take it out the night before you plan on using it. So if you're doing a shoot tomorrow, take them out later on today and leave them out to become accustomed to the normal sort of room temperature, and then they should be fine. If you're not planning on using the film for a year, I would suggest putting it in the freezer. Sounds like a crazy suggestion, but a freezer is -18, so for long-term storage you can freeze film. If you're wanting to use it, I would suggest taking it from the freezer and putting it in the fridge for a day or two, and then taking it out from the fridge into room temperature for overnight again before you use it. This happened a lot when films were being stopped in production. You know, when someone like Kodak said we're not making this film anymore, a lot of people bought it in bulk and froze it, and then just gradually use it as they wish, using that sort of pattern. I don't see the need to freeze photographic papers, although I can't really think of any reason why not. Probably colour papers I would store in the fridge, because obviously you want some sort of consistency, but again, make sure not to put partially used paper containers into the fridge. I think they need to be sealed up because of the risk of moisture, and probably resin coated papers in the fridge would be a better idea than putting fibre based papers into the fridge. And I don't think you need to freeze papers. I'm not sure about that. Anybody got any experience of freezing photographic papers, colour or black and white? Or Cibachrome, which has long been disappeared but still seems to appear on eBay now and again. Talking of eBay, buying out-of-date film, if you're into lomography and you're not too concerned about the results and you're looking for something interesting, then buying out-of-date film on eBay is probably a good idea. It could work out quite a lot cheaper, but you don't know how that film's been stored. I imagine most of it comes from house clearances, so it may not have been stored in the ideal conditions. It doesn't take much heat to change the colour balance or the contrast level of black and white papers. I've got some black and white papers that's been subjected to heat in the back of a car, and it's totally destroyed any sort of contrast on the paper. Talking of which, don't leave your films in a car on a hot sunny day, same as your camera gear, pretty much common sense, etc. When we come to chemicals, I use concertina bottles. I've been persuaded by a subscriber that that's probably not the best way of doing it. He recommends using the glass bottles, which are obviously environmentally more friendly, but putting beads in, which is quite a good idea, to bring the level up to, to get all the air out rather than having a bottle that you squeeze. Just putting something else in the bottle to bring the fluid level up to the top of the bottle. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing in the future, particularly with colour chemicals, because they need to go in a water bath. And these sort of plastic bottles, especially the concertina ones, they just float. And I think the glass bottles will probably work better in the water bath, because they need to be fairly warm. You can process colour at room temperature, but I think it's probably quicker and easier to do it at the right sort of temperatures. Other than that, I can't really think of much more to say about storage. Obviously, don't store chemicals anywhere where there's children or the risk of pets getting at it. A lockable cupboard wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't store chemicals in the fridge. I don't really see any advantage to that. You wouldn't mix up colour chemicals until you're actually going to use them. I've got mine locked away in a locked cupboard. It keeps them safe and it stops people from taking them. And the black and white chemicals, I'm using them every day and I'm overusing them, so I just keep those at room temperature, so anytime I need to develop, they're ready to go. Film, I tend to have some test films that are always kicking about ready for being used, because I'm making videos every day. But that's about it for storage. It's not particularly difficult. Like I say, if you want consistent results, buy from a reputable dealer. Make sure it's got quite a long shelf life on it before the expiry date. This stuff is out of date. This stuff went out of date in 2002, but it has been fridge stored. This Kanika film is 2002 again, but this new Kentmere film is dated 2024. So keeping this in the fridge, potentially that's got quite a long storage time. I don't know how it was stored before, but I can imagine this came from a reputable dealer. I think this came from First Call, so there shouldn't be any problem there. Out of date films, it'll slow down the process, but the damage might have already been done. And yeah, just be a bit careful when you buy off eBay, and don't use eBay films for results that you want to be consistent and you want to use. I wouldn't do a professional photo shoot using expired film. That would be crazy, to be honest. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found this film interesting. It's a bit of a long one. Any questions, queries and suggestions for storage that I've missed, drop a comment down below. I always like reading the comments and I always answer them, and people come back to me with things. But yeah, it's fairly simple really. Just keep your film in the fridge, take it out the night before you want to use it. If you're not going to get it processed straight away, put it back in the fridge, but make sure it's well marked so you don't wind the film all the way into the canister, and yeah, you should be fine. Again, thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.